Healthy Minds, Better Lives. It's me, Tom, here, joined by Hayley this evening. Hayley, really insightful there, catching up with Joe about NHS 111 option 2, which I'll be honest, until the contact was made, I think I'd heard about it a few times, but really wasn't aware as to what they could actually offer.
Yeah, I was in the same position. I'd heard about it, but I hear a lot about services that come and go, so I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it. But actually, and this is part of, I think, the communication issues we have with services, until you actually get to speak to somebody like we have tonight, and we've been able to ask questions, we've been able to understand what the service is, people don't know, so you're a bit reluctant to use a service you don't understand. So just hearing about everything that's on offer and how simple the process is, and maybe it leads to support, maybe it leads to referral, and maybe, as you said earlier, it leads to you having the opportunity to just be listened to. Sometimes that is invaluable for people. So I think opening that door and having it made so simple was really, it was nice to hear, actually.
Yeah. And I was drawing on experience when I used to work on a Wales project for men and their families affected by cancer. So we had nurses on the service. You had me that looked at kind of the welfare rights, and then you had a counsellor. So it was 3 services in one space. And they would come out of their they just had their diagnosis, and they used to come on. We used to give all the consultants little cards, like a business card with the logo of where we were, and they'd come through, and I was like, I've been given this and told to talk to you, like a ticket, an entrance ticket. And they would be like, I've just been diagnosed with cancer. I don't know what's going to happen. See the nurse. The nurse would talk them through it. Oh, I'm going to be alive tomorrow at least. Like, that's great. Mm-hmm. Oh, but the treatment starts and then I can't go to work. It was like, come talk to Tom. That was my primary function on that system. So and I'd sort out, right, you're entitled to that. You're entitled to this. Your employer needs to do this. And then it was like, oh, great. So I'm alive tomorrow and my income's safe for however long it's safe for. And then it was that bombshell of, oh, geez, I've just been diagnosed with cancer. And it's like, talk to our humanistic psychotherapist. And then they would talk to him. And you know what? Oftentimes, most people that talked with Paul didn't need to speak to him again, because it was that one time, that first time was enough to give them a different perspective and to be like, oh, actually, what I'm feeling, this fear and this terror, is actually really normal. And just normalizing these thoughts and these feelings is sometimes all we need, because we're shown so much all the time that if you feel different, then you are different. And that's how things are portrayed. But actually, it's okay to be on a roller coaster of emotion sometimes.
Of course, and we don't let ourselves, do we? We think that there's something wrong with us if we're on this roller coaster. And yet you think about how devastating it can be to have a diagnosis. And as I was saying to Joe about, I worked with domestic violence victims, you often can admit you have mental health issues, but something that's secondary to that, and you're not ready to admit it. And sometimes cancer is that. I'm really struggling with my mental health. Let's put the cancer on the side, because I can sort of deal with the mental health. I don't know what to do with the cancer, so I'll deal with mental health. And then for somebody else to say, look, we can help you with your mental health, but how about you speak to somebody who is a specialist in cancer support? Or it changes everything, or it can change everything for somebody.
I feel like that we could cover that in so much more detail. These trigger points in our life, they make you revisit your whole life. We might have to spend a bit of time in the future on that one. But now, though, the importance of taking a break. And I'm going to pose a question underneath. How good are you at taking a break? Let us know. Because I'll be honest, I don't think I'm necessarily very good at taking breaks. And Hayley, I don't want to speak for you too much, but I don't think that you're also the best at taking breaks. We've often joked about this over the last 2 years. If you've just joined us, it's Hayley's 2-year anniversary on Healthy Minds, Better Lives.
It is. It's amazing. 2 years. 2 years, the 15th of July. So we are this week. Okay. So I think I've had to learn how to make the most of my take a break time. So this is the important thing, right? And I know we've talked about how busy your schedule is. The time doesn't need to be massive, but it does need to be quality time when you take a break. Now, Let me ask you, Tom, first, before we ask the listeners, what would be quality time out for you?
Ooh. Now I was thinking this when we were kind of putting ideas around, and I was like, oh, I wonder what that looks like. And I came up with a bit of a sliding scale, which we may have an opportunity to talk about between now and the end of the show, because we're here until just before 11. We've got the VC Gallery, Barry John coming with us, and then there's the extreme side of I'm going to go backpacking for 3 months, or whatever it might be, all the way down. And this is something that we've talked about before, to your 1 minute moment. And you know what? Quality time for me is when I can just kind of be. And the times when I feel most like that is if I'm lucky enough and I've gone away on a holiday, because you're usually in a little, like, enough of a time difference if you've gone forward or back. Like if you're in Europe, you're 2 hours forward, and it's like, oh, if you remember something, oh well, like they'll get round to it. And then just exploring new places. So I love learning. So if I'm reading every single information board at a museum or in a historical place, I'm completely removed from the world, and my imagination's running wild, and I'm thinking, I wonder what it was like being then. And that is a perfect escape for me. I love that. But then on the complete opposite side, there's times where I just love sitting back. I might have I love like a squash, a drink.
Yeah.
And I'm just there. I might be in a room full of people, but in that moment I've checked out and I'm just observing, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, look, I'm here right now. And that mindful minute, that mindful moment. I remember when I was doing the Activate Your Life course for people affected by cancer, we used to give them little sticky dots. It was like, right, if you're still in work, put it on your computer, and every now and then just spend a minute just looking at that sticky dot, and just spend a minute, set an alarm, and then you've set an alarm, so you've made a deliberate time focus to be on there. And I think that's the key thing. I've got a busy schedule, but you know what? I've still got walk the dog for over an hour on there. And if I'm out with the dog, I can't do anything else because she runs in all sorts of different directions. So I can't be on my phone multitasking because it's just not worth it, because that's too frustrating. So booking out time off, having that minute, like learning and exploring, they're all times where I'm like, I am disconnected from the world at the moment, which is quite a long answer, really, for a short question that you asked.
Well, actually, do you know what I really liked about, you said it twice, it was disconnecting from the world. And I think it's not necessarily disconnecting, it's disconnecting from the busyness of the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think, kind of as you were speaking there, if you think about stress, generally kind of builds, doesn't it? So we have little moments where this is stressful and this is stressful. And if we don't deal with those stresses, it's like a bit of sand, 1 grain of sand is tiny, a billion grains of sand is a mountain. Stress is the same. So what about these moments? Okay, so if you're having these 1 minute moments and you're having little breaks, at what point do you need a bigger break, a complete sort of, whether it's a holiday abroad or whatever it is, or just time out completely? Or do those little moments add up to that kind of feeling of having enough time out?
Oh, that's a great question. The little moments are good at getting by. It's not just getting by. They're good for like a reset. So like you might have just had your lunch and you're thinking, right, I need to focus now for the afternoon. Like my days are very much shifts: breakfast show, studio time, and then whatever's happening in the evening, whether it's a choir, whether it's Healthy Minds. And those 1 minute moments are like, I'm in a different zone. So they're really good transition points. And they recenter and they refocus. And it's like, and funny enough, the word disconnect, those disconnected moments are arguably when I feel most connected to everything around me, because of that observation, which is might have to talk about that a little bit later on. And however, there is something wonderful about having a full weekend to look forward to, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to look forward to, or even I'm off now. And it's great to have that to look forward to, whether it's I'm going to stay at a friend's house. I'm going to go for an overnight stay somewhere, or 2-night Airbnb, whatever it might be. I think for me, I still need those. I'm physically away from my normal routine.
Yeah, and I think that's the point I want to make, really, is that no matter what you define as a break, it's about whether you're getting what you need out of that time out, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we don't rephrase. I think we need to be busier, and we need to be busy all the time. I think life is busy, and we've got, different routines, different responsibilities, children, parents, we're caring, we're doing all these different things, and we should be busy. But actually, in order to keep going, and for the children, for yourself, for everybody else, you need to have those breaks. So for me, it's not a luxury. Having a break and time out is not a luxury, it's a necessity. But it's how you fit those into your life to make them valuable enough to make sure that you're looking after yourself. And we have to start with giving ourselves permission. So do you give yourself permission to have time off?
And this is where kind of work balance comes into it, because we're arguably more in charge of our timetables than other people might have. If you work and you're on shifts, it's like you're turning up at 7 and you're leaving at 7. So it's but then if you're in our situation, you've got to carry on working to make sure you've got something coming in. Then it's like, well, I can't afford to take a break because I must continue being productive all the time, when actually your productivity might be slipping and you might not be noticing it.
Yeah, again, it's slow descent, isn't it? Because as you said, maybe today you haven't done, you've had 5 minutes of something you should have been doing and you haven't done it. Next week it's 10 minutes. The week after it's 15 minutes. So it's about recognizing when you are slipping, or let me do the preventative work. Let's shift into prevention. Why not plan that time in your diary to have that time out? I like the idea that your minute sort of moments, those little moments, are your reset throughout the day. How do we make them a little bit longer so they are setting you up? Not just a reset, but setting you up for the day to feel like you're in control, that everything is okay, it's going well. Because I think that's something that, again, we don't do. We don't set ourselves up to succeed. We set ourselves up often to fail.
And funny, I'm reading a book at the moment, 0 to 1, which admittedly is about businesses, but it's about people that are happy just to just go along with whatever happens. I've got a rough idea as to where I'm heading, but there's nothing really deliberate about what we do. If you're not deliberate, then you're not planning, which means that you're not actually in control of anything. You're just reacting all of the time. And reacting requires stimulus that we weren't expecting. Whereas if we made a deliberate thing, as like, actually, no, I'm taking time off. For me, watching a film of an evening, it was like, I'm not doing anything tonight because I'm going to put a film on. That's a deliberate way that I would be like, right, I've switched off now for an hour and a half. I'm really interested. We've got Rise to Shine listening in. She's saying, lovely topic of conversation. So on point, Rachel. I'd be interested to know what Rachel's thoughts are. Rachel is an author, and she's actually going to be doing a book signing in Victoria Bookshop in August. She's been on Laurie's Lifestyle before. And Rachel, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on taking a break, particularly in this busy 24/7 world. We're just talking to Joe with NHS 111 option 2, 24/7. Those mental health practitioners are going to be on the call all night. You've got people that work all day and night. So, Hayley, what do you do to make these deliberate plans of stopping?
I have to. After having depression, I have to build it into my schedule, and I don't always do a good job of it. But for me, it's about not putting pressure on myself to be completely busy all the time. And I find it really hard to stop. And the first lockdown was absolutely amazing for me because everything stopped. So I didn't have anything to do, so I could stop. And it was a real lesson. As things started to pick back up, we very quickly slipped into the old pattern of doing everything again. So I have to take time out. I have to book it. But what I've started doing, and I'm a bit of a stop starter with this. In the morning, I have my affirmations, my meditation, all that kind of stuff going on in the mornings, and I do it before I go to bed at night. But I can slip if I'm tired. Now, I think we have to really think about, am I tired? Am I too tired to set myself up to succeed? Can I take another 5 minutes just to put that into practice? Or am I just going to go and sleep and that's going to make me feel better? And that often sleep wins, because I don't sleep very much anyway. And if I'm tired,
I'm making the most of it.
I do think we don't understand what taking a break means. Because I see a lot of people who will say, I'm taking a break, and jump on social media. Now, what is social media? Social media is busy, it's addictive, it's constant, it's the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. There's all these things happening on social media, and to me, I don't see that as taking a break, but I'm happy to have that conversation with anybody. If they think I'm wrong, I'm happy to have the conversation, because it's too busy.
Yeah. Well, there must be a reason why it's called doom scrolling, and with attention spans being so small now, like there's that argument, if you read a proper book, so it's not on a screen emitting device. If you read a book, you're very much focused. You've got the texture. There's a lot of mindfulness in reading a book before you go to bed. And then people are like, oh no, I go on social media just to catch up on things. But never in my wildest dreams did I think that in 5 minutes I could catch up with 50 to 100 different items of material. And your brain's having to process every single one of them. It was like, I know that our brains are amazing, but if you're just on like TikTok or something, it was like dance routine. I've seen it. Oh, this is an ASMR of someone cutting into that magic sand. Yet done. And then you're looking through, it's like, oh, this is a recipe for something. Oh, that looks nice. Next. And then, oh, this is a sports thing. Oh, look, it's a hockey fight or whatever it might be. And you're going through all of these things. And even just the top of my head, I've been able to reel off 5 different examples that you might see in the space of 5 to 10 seconds.
So I think this is the thing, though, isn't it? So you're constantly scrolling, so you've got all this information. So let's define what taking a break is. To me, taking a break, complete break, means physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually, really taking time out to just do nothing. And I love just water. I love water, floating in water, just being in water, and have my feet on the ground in the sand. There's all those kinds of things that we can be doing to connect with nature, to switch off all our stimulus and just be in that moment. And I would love to know how many people do that on a regular basis, completely switch off the TV, switch off social media, switch off from people just for a short while, and just feel the ground, feel nature around you. That I don't think we do that half enough.
Well, from my experience of leading very, very primitive mindfulness as part of that Activate course, people are afraid of it because we're not used to having to process being by ourselves. And people are afraid of, well, if I'm not doing something, then what am I? They lose their sense of purpose really quickly. And so it's actually, even though there's so many benefits to it, and even those of us that love being productive, there's a lot that I've read. I can't quote it off the top of my head, apologies, but there's a lot to be said about being bored, because there's a lot of ideas stem from being bored. But if we're not in a position to allow ourselves to have that, oh, I'm just here, I'm just waiting for nothing. I'm just here. Then you can't put yourself in that situation to learn to be creative, because we're now just drilled into being, well, this is my routine. This is what I do every day.
Yeah, and that boredom, you don't see children being bored anymore. You don't see, if children are crying, they're handed a phone, and I've seen that time and time again. But for me, I remember as children, when we were bored, that's when we got climbing trees, or going to find what was behind that bush, or let's go for a walk, or do all those things. Let's see what one of them would be spinning on a roundabout and seeing who we could make sick. Not a great idea, because somebody was always sick. But they were things that we did. We were curious. And I think we're losing curiosity as well as creativity. So when you're not allowing yourself or children to be bored, it's like, you start looking around the house when you're bored. Oh, I need to paint that, or I need to do this, or I could be doing that. All right, you might not do them, but you've spotted it and it's in your kind of long list, to-do list. But I think boredom, I think that's where fun happens.
I love that. Your microphone cut off, but boredom, that's where fun happens. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that sentiment so much. Boredom is where fun happens. But it's so true. And you're just talking about the amount of frisbees and golf balls and tennis balls I found in bushes and hedges. And, do you think you can climb to the top of that tree? I don't know. Let's find out, shall we? And it was just being silly. But you just did it and it didn't really matter. And I would like to get back to that curiosity, that boredom of, you got 3 toy cars, but you've got, right, we're going to go down the field. And before you know it, you've got a rally track and you've got crowds, and you've got, back in our day, it was Colin McRae dragging around the corners, and that's all in your head. Our heads are amazing. You don't need to have it on your device. We can experience it firsthand. Rise to shine, Rachel's still with us. Normally, I'd be meditating now before bed to switch off, close down, and reconnect with myself. I'll be honest, usually at this time, I'm already in bed because the breakfast show starts at 6. And you'll find me tomorrow for Feel Good Friday. But these routines, you mentioned your journaling there, Hayley. Sometimes, if you're tired, you'll bypass it. It's one thing that I've found difficult to, and it might just be it's not my way of communicating with myself, but I've got a reminder journal, but I'm just not very good at it. But I shouldn't really be punishing myself. I should find the other best way of getting a similar outcome.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about defining, and we're defining what works for you. And I think if we watch children enough at play without any phones or technology, they'll take a break when it's time to take a break. Literally, like they'll go out and play and they'll know that I'm tired, let's just sit and chat. And they may sit by the river, they may sit in the park, and they'll just sit and chat. And yet we are always looking for things to do. But if you can define what taking a break means and looks like to you, what are the best ways to utilize that time to be quality time out? Because that's the thing, isn't it? It's not about 3 hours, 5 hours, 2 weeks, whatever. If you give yourself quality time in that break, that can change your day. It can change what's going on in your life. It can change the way you see things. It can change so many things. You've got to give yourself permission to do that.
There you go. It's about the quality, not the quantity of the time off. And it's different for different people.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do want to come back to that then, Tom. You said earlier, when you disconnect, you often reconnect to everything.
Yes. So having pondered this in the time we've been talking, I disconnect from my to-do list. Because one thing I learned of being a caseworker is that you will always have things to do. And there's never a point where I think that anyone ever will get to 0. If I'm lucky, I may get my emails down to below 70. And that's a good day. But most days, there's always something to do. And then some things get rolled on, you prioritize, and then that's a mental strain in and of itself. So when I take my little mindful minute, or I go away for the weekend, or go away and explore a new place, and then I'm disconnected from my to-do list, because the world's not going to burn because I didn't tick something off my to-do list at the right time, at the right place. Most people are quite amenable to, sorry, I didn't get back to you in time. Here's what I would have done had I had the time. Had you been a higher priority of the other things that I was dealing with at the time. And then being able to disconnect from my to-do list and function and process allows me to look up. It allows me to appreciate the immediate surroundings I'm in. It allows me to think beyond my immediate surroundings and think of people. And then with the people, it allows me then to think of the memories I've got with those people. And all of a sudden I'm revisiting happy times, hopefully. And then I'm able then to be like, once I've finished on this wonderful whim that I'm on, whether it's people watching, I love people watching strangers and coming up with wonderful stories about these people that I don't know. And then that brings me back to people I do know. And it's like, it'd be great to reconnect with them. And all of a sudden I'm making plans in my head. So as much as I've disconnected from my to-do list, I'm actually appreciating. I've got an example now. When I was in Windsor last year, maybe never been to Windsor before. There's the Thames runs through it. I didn't know that. And you're walking by the Thames, and you've got little the canal boats running down it, and you've got these wonderful houses that have got verandas and jetties on it. And then you look behind you through the trees, and there's a playing court and a path with a maze on it. And in the background is Windsor Castle. It's like, oh my goodness, like this is all here, and I'm walking in amongst it. And I wear a particular kind of shoe that's very thin on the sole, so I'm walking around and I can feel all the textures around me, and I just get to enjoy all of it. And I don't think about my to-do list until I need to think about my to-do list again, or until I've scheduled. Right, I've had enough now, or I'll make plans and be like, oh, you crossed my mind today, so I'm just dropping you this message. Are you down anytime soon, or are you free next Sunday or whatever? And then all of a sudden that I've actually reconnected more through disconnecting.
Do you know, I think that's lovely. As Rachel says, there's taking time to reconnect with yourself, isn't it? Because that to-do list, you, as you said, you can be on the hamster wheel forever, and you will be. But I wonder how many people, and this for all the listeners, how many of you are prioritizing connecting with yourself above connecting with other people. And I see a lot of my clients are often trying to connect with their partners or their children, and actually the disconnect, yes, they are disconnected from them. They need to reconnect with themselves before they can offer that connection to anybody else. So I would say that's probably the first priority. So if you can find those moments, those days, those weekends, those weeks or whatever it takes to reconnect with yourself, again, it changes a lot. It gives you that control over life. It's more intentional. And actually, I think we're worth it.
I love that. We are worth it. 100% we are. One thing that's crossed my mind, actually, is that we actually change as we get older through experiences and through life. And you just mentioned there, people reconnecting with their children and whatnot. These big major milestones, they actually impact how we view ourselves, how we view the world, and how we reconnect. And actually, if we haven't had a nice reconnect with ourselves, we actually lose touch with who we are, which is probably why we might be having a bit of difficulty engaging with those around us, because we're not actually sure who we are anymore. So there's taking a break and being blank, and then there's taking a break and there's thinking, actually, I'm going to have a bit of an evaluation now of me. Would that still be classed as a bit of would that still have the same outcome, do you think, as taking a break?
I think so, because if you think about as I said earlier, about taking a break from, socially, mentally, physically, emotionally, all those things, you're investing in yourself. You're all those external things you're disconnecting from, you're reconnecting with you. It's giving yourself time. It's getting to know who you are now, because things do change. We change. Life changes. But if you're still treating yourself as you did 10, 15, 20 years ago, and you're a different person living a different life, then that's not going to work. So if you reevaluate that, or take the time to reevaluate that, that's definitely a good break and a good investment.
I like that. So go on then, Hayley. What other thoughts have you had, or have you had on this since we've been talking out loud, and with Rachel joining us as well on the socials? If you've got any thoughts on this, actually, about taking a break, message us now. You can call or WhatsApp on 01437 764455. You can drop us a message on the PWR app, or you can email studio@purewestradio.com. We would love to know what your thoughts are on this this evening. Just quickly doing a little double check for us now as we're nearing 10:30 here. So did you have any other thoughts, or how would you summarize it, Hayley, if you haven't got any more thoughts on this?
I would say put yourself at the top of your priority list first. Give yourself permission to take a break, whatever that means to you. Define what it means to you. What does take a break mean? What do you want to get out of taking a break? And then take action to do that. A lot of people now are growing their own, they have their own little gardens, don't they? They're growing their own fruit and their veg and their food. And I think that's something I aspire to, just to have that access to being able to garden. I kill everything apart from children, dogs, chickens and fish. I haven't killed those yet. I'm not very good with fruit and veg. What's my aspiration?
Well, it takes time and patience, though, doesn't it? These the growing things. You've got to be the green-fingered among us. They don't know how difficult it is. They just get it.
I know, but I just think it's, fruit and veg. They don't talk back. That's wonderful. All those benefits. I often think about working with wood, and I think it's very calming working with wood. I imagine is, I'm sure there's stressful parts to it, but figuring out what is going to give you those kinds of pleasures, the kind of joy, the kind of time just to be in the moment, doing that thing, whatever that is, do it, enjoy it, try it. If you don't like it, try the next thing.
And that's another great piece of advice there. Try something. If it doesn't work, either try it again, was it just a one-off, or move on to the next thing. We don't need to punish ourselves for this relaxing time. If you're not good at yoga and you're not enjoying it, don't do it. There's something else that might tick the box.
Yes.
You've mentioned woodwork there. I remember spending a summer working with my brother, and nothing more stressful than having to measure out a piece of wood and cutting it to find that it's not the right size.
There's your mindfulness there. Measure twice, once, innit?
Oh my goodness. It's horrible. It's horrible. And then brother-in-law, then you can look at it and be like, yeah, it's just there and there. Yeah, done. Snug as a rug. Thank you. We're going to move straight on. It's just gone 10:30. Over there, we've got, who is there? Oh, right. Rachel. She's still with us. Thank you for foregoing your meditation or pushing it backwards. If I don't sit every day with myself before breakfast and intentionally set my day up before I see anyone, the quality of my day is hugely different. I open up my day with a break from the rest of the world before I see anyone or any devices, including my phone. Then I close down with a short meditative practice before bed, celebration, gratitude, even if it's just 5 minutes. Thank you both. What a great discussion. Have loved it. Rachel, it's been a pleasure having you with us. We're going to have to get you on the show, actually. Rachel has a book, Rise to Shine, and she's going to be at Victoria Bookshop. I think it's the 16th of August, where you can meet Rachel in Haverfordwest and talk more about these practices that she gets into. That's a lovely way to round off this section, Hayley.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's nice to have somebody who is set with how they self-care and how they take that break, and setting yourself up every day. It does make a difference. I'm with Rachel in this. It makes a big difference as to how your day goes. If you become more intentional about what you want out of your day, you're more like, you're not guaranteed to get it, but you're more likely to get it.
Yeah. Brendan Bouchard, I don't know if you're aware of Brendan. He's got a little diary, and he sets his thing is 3 priority goals. Write them down at the beginning of the day. You've got 3 priority goals, and then as long as you achieve them, then you can go on to like the non-priority ones. But make the goal, and if you get them done sooner rather than later, even better. You've done them. And he was like, try and make one of them the difficult one, the one that needs pushing the hardest. So therefore, you've written it down. So it's like, oh, well, I need to do that because I can't take it off. And it kind of forces you into making those hard decisions, because we know when we're avoiding things. So it's really good having that intention. One of my things before going to bed is, I mentioned this, all my tasks that I've got going on now, it auto sorts it out. What I'll do before I go to bed is I'll review the following day before going to sleep. So I already know that I've got rid of the stuff I don't need to prioritize, and what's left there is, right, these are the things I need to do tomorrow, and that's quite cleansing. I quite like that.
Again, it works, doesn't it, for you? Yeah. So if something like that works for you, and looking forward rather than back, do that. But it's always about finding the things that work for you and that you can fit in your day. As I said, I'm a little bit inconsistent with my meditation and my daily practice, but my goal after sort of, well, this month now is going to be making a consistent practice, putting in my diary. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes, so I may as well use that time. Sometimes I just want to do nothing, and I mean nothing. I don't want to get out of bed. But if I can use that time to become more intentional, then it can be a useful time for me rather than just laying about doing nothing.
Yeah, I'm going to name drop another person. So I mentioned 0 to 1, the book I'm currently reading. We've got Rise to Shine. I just mentioned Brendan Bouchard. And is it Robin Sharma? He's got is it the 4 a.m. club or the 5 a.m. club, which is about waking up that little bit earlier and being intentional about what you want to get out of the day by using that extra hour and a half typically of where you can go, which is brilliant. Helen Marie's with us. I love a list. If I put it on a list, it's a priority and it feels amazing to tick it off. Perfect.
Yes, definitely. Although if you're not ticking them off, if you keep adding to the list and you're not ticking them off, that's not good either. But yeah, I've got to the point. I don't call them a list anymore. I call them a instead of just a to-do list, a love list. Sounds nicer.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
what's
my
on the love list? I love putting the bins out. One thing I love, and this is something that Hayley, you've been good at introducing into these Healthy Minds, Better Lives shows recently. In fact, we've got I do add to the list hazards of co-arranging a wedding. So there might be a shared list in there. So I feel sorry for the other half who gets a notification saying this has been added to your list. Rachel's still with us. 4 a.m. is a great time, Hayley, to be intentional. And a love list is a great term. Brilliant. A lot of love for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to move on before we lose Rachel and Helen. National days. Which one most relates to you? I've made it that short, Hayley, so it fits on the screen. But you were saying, because we often make jokes of our national days because we've got a love-hate and a hate-love relationship with them. Why do they need to be there in the first place? But it's great to be reminded of them. But your national day is delicious.
Yeah, my birthday is National Chocolate Day. So that is a perfect national day for me because I love chocolate. But the question for everybody tonight is, what would be your ideal, and this can be made up, it doesn't have to be a day that exists already, but what would be your ideal national day that would relate to you on your birthday? Tom, did you check out what yours was?
I've just Googled it now. So let's have a look. Are you interested? Let's deny that. Right. So the big one that's come up is National Care for Kids Day, which is an interesting one. Oh, in fact, there's. So I'm going to go through the other ones that have come up. I've just done a very quick Google search. So National Care for Kids Day, which came up a few times. We've got National Fried Rice Day. And we've got Raspberry Day. Oh, but it's not to do with the fruit. It's a unique medical condition. Oh, what's that then? Oh, hang on. Oh, a lot of mine are food related. I could not be more happy about this.
So what would yours be? If you could pick yours, and it doesn't have to be one of those, but if you could pick yours, what would it be?
It would be National Delicious Food Day now that I'm looking at all of these. Well, 100%. But the one that came up, and I was like, this is very fitting because I literally had it for tea before coming out tonight. National Pepperoni Pizza Day. Perfect.
Oh, landed.
I know. I'm very happy with that. I'm intrigued as to what this Raspberry Day is because I just assumed it was the fruit, but it's not. But I've also got Paella, Punch Day, Tradesman Day. You don't want me doing your woodwork, though. I promise you. We've just talked about 4 a.m. It's 4 p.m. finish day on my birthday as well. Concussion Aware Day, String Cheese Day, Farm Animal Awareness Week falls within it as well.
You have a load of them.
I do have a load. Gosh, there is a lot going on there. Right, what's this Raspberry Day? So let's have a look. Is a testament to rare neurological disorders. There you go.
Interesting.
Who knew? I did not know that. Let's have a look. Helen Marie, mine would be National Take a Nap Day. I love a nap.
Yeah.
And then Rachel, mine is World Kindness Day according to Google. What would
Oh,
so that's the one
perfect.
that's the one on Google. Rachel, if you could have one that you could choose that epitomizes you, what would it be? Helen's is naps, mine's food, pepperoni pizza day. Haley, yours is chocolate, which you're sticking with, which is
I'm
actually the
sticking
one
with
if you
that one.
Google with it.
Yeah, that's perfect for me.
And we were talking about our favourite chocolate. You're a classic Cadbury's fruit and nut, or just classic blocks of chocolate?
Oh, now see, I go through phase. I just like the chocolate, and I like it has to be room temperature, not fridge. We're gonna put chocolate in the fridge,
Yeah.
but I do like. They brought the small fruit and nut. I do like the fruit and nut.
Ooh. See, I'm a big fan of caramel in my chocolate. So there was a
Oh,
time a long time ago where I feel like I don't see it half as often anymore, but Cadbury's caramel back in the day was my go-to. Mm.
oh, I do like that. Although I'm not keen on the actual caramel. Same with Galaxy caramel. Although I do like a Cadbury's Curly Wurly.
Oh, I did love a Curly Wurly until it dragged a filling out of my face. So I'm a little bit unhappy with Curly Wurlies now. Helen Marie, keep chocolate out of the fridge.
Agreed. Totally agreed. I like Rachel's though. We've seen Rachel's
Yeah.
suggestions with hers. I really like those, and they really fit in as well.
Sunshine and sparkles or chocolate. Do you know what? I think there is actually a sparkle day as well. So we'll have to get in touch with Rachel on Sparkle Day.
I think Rachel can have sunshine, sparkles, and chocolate.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great day. That is a great day. It's been a great show. It's can you believe it's 20 to 11 already? We're going to be catching up with Barry John from the VC Gallery. The VC Gallery is our chosen charity of the year here at Pure West Radio, and it's been great to understand more about what they do. We always hear about the events that they've got going on, and what's been great since the beginning of June is that we've been tagging along to a lot of them. So Toby, Darren, and Matthew were down at Mount Forest where they're doing arts in nature. Literally, which is brilliant. He's bringing down his paints and his easels and his canvases, and they were painting there surrounded by woodland, which is brilliant. And art was one of the first projects and services that they offered to ex-servicemen and people that require extra support. And they ran an exhibition the other day in memory of the late Danny King, who was in the services. He was discharged and he became a support worker himself. And he used to bring along his clients to Barry, and he'd be like, "Oh, I brought them down for some painting." And Barry, being Barry, is like, "Right, well, you can pick up some paintbrushes as well." And he's like, "No, it's not for me." Turns out he was brilliant, and he was a brilliant facilitator as well. So he started leading some of the groups. He passed away at 49, so we popped along to the exhibition there to find out more about Danny from Barry, and his mum was there as well. And you can have a look at the VC Gallery's Facebook page to read more about it and see a picture montage of what's going on. But it reminded me not to take for granted the skills that we have and don't know we have, and that going back to what you said, Haley, of trying new things because you never know, and to not take for granted the people around us, because 49 is no age. And there was one canvas as you walked in, which Barry had placed there, that wasn't finished. And you look at it and you think, I mean, it's so captivating, the piece of work. And you look at it and you think, God, what could have been? And I often think about with the people that I pass in the world. There's so many people on this planet. We can't get to know everyone, but the ones that do cross our paths and we have meaningful communication with, well, what could be if we actually invest a bit of time in kindred spirits and like-minded people? And that's what I love about this show, is that we get the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, I just think we need to make the most of people in general. We just don't do that enough now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And there are good people out there. We spent the first part of this show talking to Joe about NHS 111 option 2. There are people out there that have a propensity to support. They want to be there for you. And that's what I love about being part of the station in general, about this show in particular, about sharing the airtime with you, Hayley, and with Tammy as well when she's with us. It's that the world is actually quite a nice place.
Do you know, it is, and we forget, don't we, sometimes, because the word doesn't feel like a nice place always, but it actually is, and there's some lovely people out there. We just got to give them a chance and get to know them.
Yeah, I completely agree. When's our next show, Hayley? Let's should we have a little look? We're going to be back. It's going to be August that we're back, and it's going to be the 8th. The 8th of August is when Healthy Minds, Better Lives returns. And I'm just thinking, I haven't got my computer out. We do kind of know what's coming up as well, don't we?
Yes. So let me just find I'm sure I had it open just now.
Have you got it open? Oh, have I managed to find it before you?
Yeah.
So
we're looking at in August, the 6 pillars of well-being.
And what are those 6 pillars, Hayley?
We've got mental and emotional, physical, spiritual, financial, social, and professional. And then we're going to be looking at some alternative therapies. We're hoping to have a homeopath come on and for just to share some information about homeopathy.
Lovely. And in fact, we can open that up, can't we? If someone's listening to this now thinking, oh, I might be able to contribute to that, we'd love to hear from you.
Or any therapies, really. Holistic therapies, alternative therapies. I think we've done a lot of we've done NHS tonight. We've done some different charities. We've done some groups that have got together because of a need. Be good to do some holistic therapies as well and add that into the mix.
There we go. So get in touch. You can email studio@purewestradio.com. Not if you're someone that can provide advice, but also we're very willing to answer any questions that may come in as well, Hayley.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you want to submit a question, maybe you've been impacted by some of these themes and you want to get a different perspective on it, you want to find out what our thoughts are, a bit like what we said earlier about bridging that gap towards the NHS, then we don't mind being a sounding board, and we can do it all. We can all do it anonymously as well, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Rise to shine. We are blessed with heaps of wonderful holistic complementary therapists in Pembrokeshire. So no doubt what's going to happen now is we're going to get at least one that's going to get in touch with us to find out what they can offer. Tell you what, doesn't even have to be like, we could do a little carousel of different things as well, couldn't we?
Yeah, and if they can't show up on the night, we could happily interview them beforehand and put it on.
Yeah. So don't feel pressured thinking, oh, well, I'm usually in bed by this time. We'd love to still hear from you. So all that's left to say is thanks once again to Jo, Rachel, who was in the background for the whole time, but the tech wouldn't let her join us. Sophie was due to join us, and thanks to everyone at the NHS 111 Option 2 team to help get Jo onto the show and to dispel, to open the door and lift the veil on what that service actually was. It was great to get the bare bones of when you ring up, you're on hold for roughly 2 minutes, and then you get through directly to the handler. Like, that's an important step, because you don't want to get through to someone like, oh, how best can I help you? It's like, no, it's fine. You want to get straight through to the right person. So just understanding that was brilliant. Hayley, thanks so much for your time. And like you, I do enjoy like 99% of everything that I do. And so going back to taking a break, which was one of our major themes, I often feel, I feel more blessed than not that I get to do this with you anyway. I feel refreshed and rejuvenated every single time that we come together on the second Thursday of every month. I hope that you have got plans to rest and rejuvenate now, though.
Yeah, definitely. I've done a little bit the last fortnight or so. Yeah. And you know, we all make mistakes. We're not always going to get it perfect. So let's all put in that little break every day.
I love that. Hayley, until next month, thank you so much for your time here. Barry John from the VC Gallery is going to be up next. If you've only just joined the show and you're thinking, I sound like I've missed a classic, you can listen back to the whole show on the catchup at purewestradio.com /catchup. And the videos, both of them with Jo and this one, are live on our Facebook, our YouTube, and our X. You can go and watch them back there. Barry John, VC Gallery, talking Danny King is up next after Coldplay and Feels Like I'm Falling in Love. Thank you so much, Hayley.
Bye. See you next month.